Welcome back. Part 16, my narcissistic, toxic, psychotic ex. Now, in part 15, we ended with my restaurant closing. Now, at this point is when things escalate. Because now that my restaurant is closed, that becomes a story for her to tell everyone and how I don't know anything about opening a business. And once again, just like with everything else she does, okay, again, another narcissistic trait is she's using the restaurant closing, her blaming me for it closing, regardless to the fact that the sewer backed up in the basement and the landlord refused to repair it, causes me to lose everything. None of that matters. So when she tells the story to everybody, his restaurant closed. He ain't been open but a few months. He lost his restaurant because he don't know nothing about no restaurant business. This becomes the story that's being told on a daily basis. Regardless to the fact of what actually happened, this is the story that's being told. Now, when they come around me, many times they call themselves taking shots at me. They'll say dumb things out of their mouth like, "How your restaurant doing?" As though I don't already know that she didn't sit up with them and told them the story. But this is their way of calling themselves taking shots. Because this is what happens. Anytime a narcissistic person tells a negative story about somebody, it's always people around who feel as though they got to say something to the person based on the story that they done heard. And it's all... Now, this go on many times. But because I'm looking at it like they don't even know what they're talking about. Because the situation ain't true, not the way it's being told. I know what happened, so I'm not responding to any of that. I don't care about none of that. My focus is now, because I done lost everything, is I got to try to find a way to get back on my feet. That's my focus. But all this is going on along with everything else she been saying. She's still using all the same stuff she had been talking about before. One day, she going one of her psychotic rages, okay? She coming at me and she's throwing all this stuff in my face. I ain't got no job. I'm sorry. I'm this, I'm that. I don't know nothing about no business. That's why my business closed. She is really throwing things at me. So, my thing is, I'm not finna waste my time arguing with a fool. But you're not gonna keep coming at me and I'm not gonna say something. So, I'm telling her, the things that you're saying, it doesn't even make sense. Think about it. You sitting here telling all these people about my restaurant and close, and then here it is, you throwing it up in my face. But why did it close? The sewer backed up in the basement. So you're not even making sense. You keep throwing this stuff up here about child support, but you know the situation. You throwing this in my face about I ain't got a job, or I quit my job, and you know the situation. And I left it at that. I didn't even get loud with her or anything. I was done with it. All I wanted to do was shut her up. But she continued on, and I realized no matter what I say, she's not going to have no type of understanding of it anyway, so I'm not going to waste my time arguing. I left it alone, and I walked away. Now, I look up, and about an hour later, one of her family members is coming through the door. Now, I ain't even thinking about us getting into it an hour ago, but her family member is her cousin. She's a little older than us. I think at the time, she was probably in her 40s. Okay? Now, when she come in, crazy lady laying on the couch. She said, "Hey, y'all, look. I ain't taking no sides here. But I don't understand while y'all keep getting into it, and y'all got this nice house and all this stuff y'all been doing. I don't understand why y'all getting into it all the time. This fool jumps up off the couch. She got her chest out. She say, he ain't got no job. And I'm struggling, trying to pay all these bills by myself. These bills is kicking my behind. I work myself to the bone trying to pay these bills. Now, this sounds real good, okay? When you hear, I ain't got no job, forget I just lost my business and everything I had. I ain't got no job, she paying all the bills by herself. I finds out, not only did she just say this here, this had been a story she had been telling everybody. And of course, everybody listening, everybody believing her. Now, here's the thing about this. Remember when she came at me, telling me about how she want us to buy a house? Now, understand this. At this point, she didn't know anything about buying a house. She never owned a house. Even her family, her mother and them didn't own a house. You see, the only way she knew anything about a house is because I had talked to her on several occasions about us buying a house. She finally comes to me and say she ready to buy a house now. And I explained to her because I had just opened a little small restaurant and I wasn't putting my money into it. It's a bad time to buy a house. And I tried to explain that to her, but she didn't want to listen. You see, I knew because it didn't matter how much money she was bringing in every month. I'm looking at how she blow all her money and not saving anything. So I knew this was going to put us in a financial bind, buying a house at this time. She did not want to hear it. What did she do? She put her chest out like she always do, say, all the money I make every month, I'll pay the mortgage. You ain't even got to worry about that. Now here it is. We in this situation where she forced to pay for everything, okay? And she's throwing this out here, forgetting about the conversation that I told her I knew was coming. But here she is, she's saying this. And people listening, they believe in her. But again, another narcissistic trait. Forget about the facts of the situation. It's only about her story. Now, she's saying that the bills kicking her behind. Okay, now, here's the thing about me. I'm a numbers guy. Anytime I'm doing anything, I'm always doing the numbers on it. When we got this house, when we got approved for the mortgage, we got the best interest rates on the market. Okay, so when we move into our house, the house note is $800 a month, okay, on a $150,000 house. Now, understand, a $150,000 house then, in today's time, it sells between $270,000 and $300,000. The house payment is $800 a month. Both our car payments with insurance at that time was $800 a month together. Now, I went on. We didn't have a gas bill because the house was all electric, okay? All we had was an electric bill. Now, here's the situation. As soon as we get to this house with this electric, every time I come home, all the lights on in the house. She upstairs in the bed. So I'm talking to her about, why do you leave the lights on in the house? You up here in the bed. Why all the lights on? It don't make sense. See, as a kid growing up, one thing you was taught was you ain't using a light, you make sure you turn the lights out because it's not free. You see? And then there's times I come home and she ain't even there. All the lights on and the TV on. And again, she ain't got no understanding about turning the lights out. She say, well, I don't want to come home to a dark house. Okay, that's fine. You can leave one light on, but you got every light on in the house and the TV. This fool tell me, well, I leave the TV on for the dog. we touching on these lights because, again, remember, in part one, the whole reason we even talking, having this conversation is because one of the things that she did when I left, I forgot the lights was on in my name, and she did some fraudulent stuff, having somebody act like they was me and signed up for a energy assistance program and ran up a $9,000 bill that she could not pay. Well, this is why. This is the reason the bill was so high and she had problems paying it, because she always leave the lights on all the time when all she had to do was cut them off. But, okay, at this point, our light bill on the average is $100 and something to $300 and something, depending on how much I'm turning the lights out. Now, we got cable bill. Back then, they had the bundles with the cable because you still had the home phone. So you had the home phone, cable, internet, $100 a month. But, of course, she wasn't satisfied with the cable, so she kept getting the increase till it got up to $200 a month. Again, that's fine. But, so we got a water bill, we got cell phone bills, and I got all of this in there, okay? She get her hair done and nails done every 2 weeks. That's in there. How much money we spend on food a month. How much money we both spending on gas for a month. I know that she stop and get coffee and sandwiches in the morning on the way to work. I'm adding that in there. I know she eat lunch at work almost every day. I'm adding that cost in there. All of our bills and living expenses was in this. Do you know it only came to $36,000 a year? But she brags all the time. She making $100,000+ a year. So if you had to pay all the bills for a year, that means what? You take $36,000 away from $100,000. That leaves you with over $60,000 left over. So explain to me, how's the bills kicking your behind? How is it that you sitting here talking about you work yourself to the bone to pay the bills? No, you work yourself to the bone, then you spin yourself to the bone. But ain't nobody paying this no attention.